The rain battered the windows of the old diner. But inside, Eli felt a spark of warmth he hadn't known in years. At 17, he'd learned to hide his heart. But tonight, sitting across from Jamie in a cracked vinyl booth, he felt alive. Their laughter drowned out the storm, a fleeting rebellion against the weight of the world. Eli's life hadn't always been this fragile. Growing up in Willow Creek, a sleepy town in upstate New York, he'd once had a family that felt whole as mom, Sarah, with her soft voice and endless stories, and his dad, Tom, a gruff mechanic who loved them fiercely. But cancer stole Sarah 2 years ago, leaving a void that Tom filled with work and silence. Eli learned to navigate the grief alone, retreating into books and late-night walks by the creek. Then came Linda, his dad's new wife, with her sharp smile and sharper eyes. She moved into their creaky old house 6 months ago, bringing rules, suspicion, and something Eli couldn't name but felt like danger. The diner was their sanctuary, Eli and Jamie's. Jamie, with his paint-splattered jeans and wild ideas, had transferred to Willow Creek High last fall. He was everything Eli wasn't: bold, unapologetic, the kind of kid who'd sketch murals on his sneakers and charm teachers into forgetting his tardiness. They'd met in art class, where Jamie's charcoal drawings of cityscapes made Eli's careful still lives look timid. "You've got a spark, Eli," Jamie had said one day, his grin lopsided. "You just hide it too well." That spark grew into late-night texts, shared playlists, and stolen glances that made Eli's chest ache. Tonight, the diner was nearly empty, save for old Mr. Jenkins nursing a coffee at the counter. Eli leaned closer to Jamie, their knees brushing under the table. "You ever think about leaving this place?" Jamie asked, stirring his milkshake with a straw. His voice was casual, but his eyes held a challenge. "Every day," Eli admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But Dad, he needs me here. And Lindash lose it if I even mention college out of state." He didn't mention how Linda's constant questions about his friends felt like traps, or how her perfume lingered in the house like a warning. Jamie reached across the table, his fingers grazing Eli's. "We could go together. Somewhere big, like Chicago or Seattle. Somewhere we don't have to hide." The words hung between them, electric and terrifying. Eli wanted to say yes, to imagine a life where he could hold Jamie's hand in public, but fear clamped down hard. Willow Creek wasn't kind to boys like them. Back at home, Linda was waiting. She sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open, her face unreadable. "Late again, Eli," she said, her voice syrupy with false concern. "Where were you?" "Diner," Eli muttered, avoiding her gaze. He felt her eyes on him, dissecting, as he grabbed a glass of water and headed upstairs. His room was his only safe space, cluttered with books and posters of bands he'd never seen live. But even there, something felt off, a faint hum, like a device left on. He shook it off, chalking it up to paranoia. Linda had a way of making him feel watched. The next day at school, Jamie slipped Eli a note during history class: "Meet me at the creek, 7 p.m." Eli's heart raced. The creek was their secret spot, hidden by willows and far from prying eyes. That evening, under a sky bruised with clouds, they sat on a blanket, sharing a bag of chips and dreams too big for Willow Creek. Jamie talked about art school, about painting the world in colors no one else saw. Eli listened, his guard slipping, and when Jamie leaned in to kiss him, it felt like the universe exhaled. For weeks, they stole moments like this: kisses by the creek, whispers in the diner, hands brushing in the school hallway. Eli felt like he was waking up from a long sleep. But Linda's presence grew heavier. She started asking Tom about Eli's late nights, her tone implying something sinister. Tom, exhausted from long days at the garage, brushed her off, but Eli saw the doubt in his dad's eyes. He started checking his phone, his bag, even his room for signs of Linda's snooping, but found nothing. One night, Eli came home to find Linda in his room, organizing his desk. "Just helping out," she said, her smile tight. Eli's stomach twisted. He waited until she left, then tore through his room, searching for anything out of place. Under his desk, tucked behind a tangle of cords, he found it, a tiny black device, no bigger than a quarter, with a blinking red light. A camera. His blood ran cold. How long had it been there? What had it seen? He didn't sleep that night. The camera sat on his nightstand, its lens staring like an accusing eye. He thought of Jamie, of their kisses, their secrets. If Linda had seen, Eli's world would collapse. He had to tell Jamie, but fear kept him silent. What if Jamie thought he'd known? What if this broke them? The next morning, Eli confronted Linda. "What's this?" he demanded, holding up the camera. Her face didn't flinch. "Protection," she said coolly. "This house has had break-ins. I'm keeping us safe." "Safe from what?" Eli's voice shook. "From me." Linda's eyes narrowed. "You're hiding something, Eli." "I know it. And I'll find out what." Eli's hands trembled as he stuffed the camera into his backpack. He couldn't stay in that house, not with Linda's eyes mechanical and human watching his every move. He biked to the diner, his heart pounding louder than the tires against the gravel. Jamie was already there, sketching in a booth, his face lighting up when he saw Eli. But the smile faded when Eli dropped the camera on the table. "What the hell is that?" Jamie's voice was low, urgent. "Linda," Eli said, his throat tight. "She's been spying on me. In my room. I don't know how long, or what she's seen." He couldn't say the rest. Cold voiced the fear that their stolen moments, their kisses, might now be trapped in Linda's hands. Jamie's jaw tightened. "We need to destroy it. Now." He reached for the camera, but Eli grabbed his wrist. "Not yet. If she knows I found it, she'll do something worse. We need a plan." Eli's mind raced. He'd always been the careful one, the planner, but this felt like a trap with no escape. They spent the next hour whispering, heads bent close, plotting in the diner's dim light. Jamie suggested confronting Linda with Tom present, forcing her to explain. Eli wasn't sure. His dad loved him, but Tom was old school, raised in a town where different was a dirty word. What if the truth about Eli and Jamie pushed him away for good? Back home, Eli avoided Linda's gaze. She was in the kitchen, humming as she chopped vegetables, the picture of domestic calm. But Eli saw the calculation in her movements, the way her eyes flicked to him when she thought he wasn't looking. He kept the camera hidden in his backpack, checking it obsessively to make sure it was still there. That night, he texted Jamie, "Can't sleep. What if she has more cameras?" Jamie's reply came instantly, "Come to my place. My mom's cool. She won't care." Eli wanted to, but the thought of sneaking out with Linda's surveillance felt too risky. Instead, he lay awake, listening to the house creak, imagining eyes in every shadow. At school, the tension followed him. He and Jamie kept their distance in public, their usual brushes and glances replaced by stiff nods. Eli hated it, hated hiding who he was, but the camera had changed everything. During lunch, he slipped away to the library, searching online for hidden cameras and privacy laws. What he found made his stomach sink. Linda's actions were illegal, but proving it would be hard. And if she had footage of him and Jamie, Eli couldn't finish the thought. That afternoon, Jamie pulled him aside in the art room. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice fierce. "We confront her together. Show your dad the camera. Tell him everything. He's your dad, Eli. He'll pick you over her." Eli wanted to believe it, but doubt gnawed at him. What if he doesn't? What if he sees us, and he can't handle it? The words felt like betrayal, but they were honest. Tom had never said anything hateful, but he'd never said anything accepting either. Silence could be its own kind of rejection. Jamie's eyes softened. "Then we'll figure it out. Together." He squeezed Eli's hand, quick and hidden, but it was enough to steady him. That evening, Eli planned to talk to Tom. He waited until Linda was out, running errands, and found his dad in the garage, tinkering with an old carburetor. "Dad, we need to talk," Eli said, his voice shaking. Tom looked up, wiping grease from his hands. "What's wrong, kid?" His tone was gruff but warm, the way it used to be before Sarah died. Eli pulled out the camera. "I found this in my room. Linda put it there." He watched his dad's face shift from confusion to anger, but not at Linda at the situation, at the invasion. Eli took a breath, ready to tell him everything, but the front door slammed. Linda was back. She walked into the garage, her smile freezing when she saw the camera in Eli's hand. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Eli says you've been spying on him," Tom said, his tone hard. "Is this true?" Linda's eyes darted between them. "I was protecting this family," she said, her voice rising. "Eli's been sneaking around, lying about where he's been. I had to know what he was doing." "Sneaking around." Tom's brow furrowed. "Eli, what's she talking about?" Eli's heart pounded. This was the moment he dreaded. He could lie, keep his secret safe, or he could tell the truth and risk everything. He thought of Jamie, of their dreams of a life beyond Willow Creek. He thought of his mom, who'd always told him to be brave. "Dad," he said, his voice barely steady, "I'm gay. And Linda, she's been watching me because she knows." The garage went silent, the air heavy with Eli's confession. Tom's face was unreadable, his hands still clutching the rag he'd been using. Linda's lips curled into a smirk, but her eyes were cold, calculating. Eli's heart hammered, waiting for his dad to speak, to react, to do anything. "Gay?" Tom finally said, his voice low, like he was testing the word. "You're telling me you're gay?" Eli nodded, his throat too tight to speak. He braced for anger, for disappointment, but Tom just stood there, staring at the camera in Eli's hand. Linda seized the moment. "I told you he was hiding something," she said, stepping closer to Tom. "I found that camera because I was worried. He's been sneaking off with that Jamie boy, doing God knows what. I have proof, Tom. I saw them." Eli's stomach dropped. "Proof," he whispered. The word felt like a blade. Linda pulled out her phone, her fingers moving with cruel precision. "I didn't want to show you like this," she said, her voice dripping with false regret. "But you need to know." She turned the screen toward Tom, and Eli caught a glimpsey of grainy video of him and Jamie at the creek, their kiss captured in stark clarity. His world tilted. Tom watched the video in silence, his face a mask. When it ended, he looked at Eli, his eyes searching. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Eli wanted to run, to disappear, but he forced himself to nod. "Yeah. It's true. I love him, Dad." Linda's laugh was sharp, cutting. "Love? He's confused, Tom. He needs help, not encouragement. This town won't stand for this, and you know it." Tom's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond to her. Instead, he turned to Eli. "Why didn't you tell me?" The question wasn't angry, but it carried a weight that crushed Eli. It wasn't about the camera Anna Maria, it was about the years of silence. The secrets Eli had kept to protect himself. "I was scared," Eli admitted, his voice breaking. "I didn't know if you'd still love me." Tom's face softened, just for a moment, but before he could speak, Linda cut in. "We need to do something about this, Tom. He can't stay here. Not like this. People will talk. It'll ruin us." "Enough," Tom snapped, his voice like a whip. He turned to Eli, his eyes steady. "Go to your room. We'll talk later." Eli stumbled out of the garage, his legs weak. He locked his door and sank to the floor, his phone buzzing with Jamie's texts. "What happened? You okay?" Eli couldn't answer. The shame, the fear, the betrayal, it was too much. He curled up, clutching his knees, and cried for the first time since his mom's funeral. The next day, school was a blur. Jamie found him in the hallway, his face pale with worry. "Eli, talk to me. What did your dad say?" Eli recounted the garage scene, his voice hollow. Jamie's eyes blazed with anger. "She can't do this. That camera is illegal. We could go to the police." "And say what?" Eli snapped, his fears spilling over. "That my stepmom caught me kissing you. This town, Jamie Ethel, side with her. You know they will." Jamie grabbed his hand, pulling him into an empty classroom. "Then we fight back. We tell everyone, our friends, the school, anyone who'll listen. We don't let her win." Eli wanted to believe him, but the weight of Willow Creek's judgment felt suffocating. He pulled away. "I need time. Jamie. I can't do this right now." Jamie's face fell, but he nodded. "I'm here when you're ready." That night, Eli overheard Tom and Linda arguing downstairs. Tom's voice was low, steady. "You had no right, Linda. He's my son. You don't get to spy on him, to expose him like that." "He's my stepson," Linda shot back. "And I'm protecting this family's reputation. You think I want to be the stepmom of the town's freak?" The word hit Eli like a punch. He crept back to his room, his resolve hardening. He couldn't stay in this house, not with Linda's venom poisoning everything. But leaving meant facing his dad, meant risking the only family he had left. The next morning, Eli found Tom alone in the kitchen. "Dad, I need to know," he said, his voice steady despite the fear. "Do you want me to stay?" Tom looked up, his eyes tired but clear. "You're my son, Eli. That doesn't change. But this, it's a lot. I need time." Time. The word felt like a lifeline and a sentence. Eli nodded, but inside, he was breaking. He didn't know if time would heal his dad's heart or drive them further apart. Eli spent the next week in a fog, caught between hope and dread. Tom was quieter than usual, his eyes avoiding Eli's at breakfast. Linda, meanwhile, seemed emboldened, her comments sharper, her presence colder. Eli stopped going to the diner, afraid Linda might follow him. He and Jamie texted, but their conversations felt strained, weighed down by the unspoken fear of what came next. At school, rumors started to spread. A girl in Eli's math class whispered to her friend, glancing at him. A group of guys in the hallway snickered as he passed. Eli's stomach churned. Had Linda shared the video? He confronted Jamie after class, his voice shaking. Did you tell anyone? Jamie's eyes widened. No, Eli, I swear. But people talk. Maybe someone saw us at the creek. The thought made Eli's skin crawl. Willow Creek was small, its gossip vicious. He started skipping classes, hiding in the library, but the whispers followed. One day, a note was taped to his locker, freak. Eli tore it up, but the word burned into him, echoing Linda's venom. He couldn't face Jamie, not with the shame eating him alive. He stopped replying to texts, letting the distance grow. Jamie tried to reach him, leaving voicemails that Eli couldn't bring himself to listen to. The loneliness was suffocating, but it felt safer than risking more exposure. One night, Eli overheard Linda on the phone, her voice low but clear. I've got the footage saved, just in case. If he steps out of line again, I'll send it to the school board. Eli's blood ran cold. She wasn't just watching him, she was weaponizing his life. He couldn't stay silent anymore. The next day, he went to Jamie's house, his heart pounding. Jamie's mom, a warm woman with a painter's hands, let him in. Jamie was in his room, sketching furiously. When he saw Eli, his face lit up, then darkened with worry. I'm sorry, Eli said, his voice breaking. I pushed you away. I was scared. Jamie pulled him into a hug, fierce and steady. We're in this together, Eli. No matter what. They sat on Jamie's bed, planning. Jamie's mom, Lisa, overheard and joined them. What Linda's doing is illegal, she said, her voice firm. We can report her. And Eli, you can stay here if you need to. Eli's throat tightened. The offer was a lifeline, but it meant leaving his dad, his home. He wasn't ready to give up on Tom. That night, he went home and found his dad in the living room, staring at an old photo of Sarah. Dad, Eli said, sitting beside him. I can't live like this. Linda's threatening me. She's got a video of me and Jamie. Tom's face hardened. She showed me. I told her to delete it. She didn't, Eli said, his voice steady. She's holding it over me. And I'm scared, Dad. Not just of her, but of losing you. Tom's eyes met his, and for the first time, Eli saw pain there, not rejection. You're not losing me, Tom said. But I don't know how to fix this. I thought Linda was. I was wrong. The admission broke something in Eli. He cried, and Tom pulled him into a hug, the first in years. It wasn't acceptance, not fully, but it was a start. The next day, Eli and Jamie went to the school counselor, Ms. Rivera, a kind woman who'd always seemed to see through Eli's quiet exterior. They told her everything: Linda's camera, the video, the threats. Ms. Rivera's face darkened. This is serious, she said. I'll contact the authorities. But Eli, you need to decide what you want to do. Eli didn't know. Pressing charges could tear his family apart, but staying silent meant letting Linda win. He looked at Jamie, who squeezed his hand under the table, and felt a flicker of courage. I want her gone, he said. I want to feel safe again. MS. Rivera nodded. We'll start with a report. And Eli, you're not alone in this. That night, Eli packed a bag and went to Jamie's house. Lisa welcomed him, setting up the guest room. For the first time in weeks, Eli slept without fear. Jamie's presence a quiet comfort down the hall. The police came the next week. MS. Rivera had filed a report, and an officer visited Eli at Jamie's house, taking the camera as evidence. Linda denied everything, claiming the camera was for security, but the officer wasn't convinced. They searched her laptop, finding the video and others dozens of files, all of Eli, some from months back. The violation made Eli sick, but the evidence was enough to charge her with invasion of privacy. Tom was devastated. He sat with Eli at Jamie's house, his face etched with guilt. I should have seen it, he said. I let her into our home, and she hurt you. I'm so sorry, Eli. Eli wanted to be angry, but all he felt was relief. I just want us to be okay, he said. Tom nodded, his hand resting on Eli's shoulder. It wasn't perfect, but it was a promise. Linda moved out, her charges pending. The town buzzed with gossip, but Eli found he didn't care as much as he'd feared. He and Jamie started being open at school, holding hands in the hallways, ignoring the stares. Some kids whispered, but others friends, teachers, even Mr. Jenkins from the diner stood by them. MS. Rivera started a support group for LGBTQ students, and Eli and Jamie joined, finding a community they hadn't known existed in Willow Creek. Tom started coming to Jamie's house for dinner, awkward at first but trying. One night, he brought a photo album of Sarah, sharing stories Eli hadn't heard in years. Your mom would have loved you no matter what, Tom said, his voice thick. And I'm trying to be the dad she'd want me to be. Eli nodded, tears in his eyes. You're getting there. Spring came, and with it, college acceptance letters. Eli and Jamie both got into art programs in Chicago, scholarships covering most of the cost. They made plans, dreaming of a city where they could be themselves, where love didn't need to hide. The night before graduation, they went back to the creek, the place where it all began. Under the willows, Jamie pulled out a sketchbook, showing Eli a drawing of them together, laughing in the diner. This is us, Jamie said, his voice soft. No cameras, no secrets. Just us. Eli kissed him, the weight of the past year lifting. They weren't free of scars Linda's betrayal, the town's judgment, the fear that lingered, but they were stronger for it. Eli thought of his mom, of her stories about courage, and felt her with him, cheering him on. As they walked back to town, hand in hand, Eli realized he wasn't just surviving anymore. He was living, loving, and fighting for a future that was his. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but with Jamie by his side and his dad's love, however imperfect, Eli knew he could face anything. Willow Creek was no longer a Kajia, it was the place where he'd found his voice, his truth, and the strength to keep going.